Hey everybody, today we are somewhere that I have talked about before on my channel, but now we're actually here instead of me just talking about it, which is kind of amazing because I haven't been back since I was 12, I think. So it's been like 14, 15 years. I can't do math today apparently either. But today we are standing in one of the buildings that was actually used as a prison during 1700s for British prisoners that had been captured in the Canso Islands. And I don't know, there's so much to be said about Louisbourg and its entire history and the area and how every single one of these buildings feel like. Unfortunately, it is the end of the season. We're here in late October, so not everything is open for us to be able to go into or explore or get around, but some of the buildings are still open and we're still able to kind of see what is going on in them. And yeah, I don't know, this building, it doesn't feel too bad. Like, for being something that actually had prisoners in it and everything else, it's pretty cozy. Like, they've got this massive stone fireplace. Like, apparently they were treated pretty well here for being prisoners, although there are bars on every single window. I don't know. I'm really excited to be here, and of course I'm really excited to bring Megan with me because this is her first time here as well. And this is a place that I think I have not stopped talking about since I met her.
Ooh, light.
Wow. So I think she's probably ready to just be here and sick and tired of me talking about it all the time.
A little bit.
And yeah, so I think we're gonna head back outside. The building that we can actually get into is next door. And then we're gonna go and try and get into where I saw my not my very first, but one of my first full body apparitions that I did not see by myself. So yeah. It's the door.
It's the door. Creaky hinges.
That's so funny. The Fortress of Louisbourg was built between 1713 and 1758, and it served as a fortified French colonial town and was placed in the middle of one of the biggest trade routes in North America and Europe. It was first the home to Mi'kmaq people, and then in the 18th century, they were joined by the French, German, English, Irish, Scottish, and Africans. Today, it is one of North America's largest historical reconstruction projects, and I can't think of any cooler place that I have ever been that is so vast and so much history. Now, this fortress survived through 2 sieges, literally battering down the walls throughout history, and it has gone through so much. What we got to experience by walking back into this place, I will never be able to forget, simply because I was able to bring somebody back that is so important to me to somewhere that is so important to me. I absolutely love this fortress. I have loved it since I was a little kid. And being able to actually experience it now as an adult with a more open mind and being able to take in the history, even though we weren't able to get into a lot of the buildings, makes me really happy. Now, today, Parks Canada has actually restored only about a quarter of the fortress. So there is much more to be done. And of course, all of the fees that you pay to get into the fortress, the fees that you pay for some of their tours or their rum tasting tour, which I'm really sad we didn't get to do, all goes back to the reconstruction. And I know that their hope is one day eventually being able to have the entire fortress back up and standing for people to experience. Now, the house that we're in right now is actually one of the captain's houses. And this house, upon initial entry into it, was heavy, to say the least. I was very just overwhelmed. And I think a part of that is the fact that there was a lot of old memorabilia, old books, and as you can see, just artifacts that they have found from digging up and restoring some of these buildings. Now, this place was the home of a military officer, and he actually built it himself. It is one of the largest private homes in Louisbourg, and they figured that the residence was built so big because he wanted to have a huge family. Unfortunately, he was not so lucky, and his marriage actually ended up providing no children at all. But much like a lot of the other houses in Louisbourg, every single one of them has some history and some sense of heaviness. I really would love to be able to get back into Louisbourg and actually get into all of the other buildings. So going closer to the end of the season, but not quite the end of the season like we did, and be able to get back into those places where it's just so heavy. Most of this area of town is the higher end, I guess you would say. It's the engineer's residence, the artillery storage, the bakery, and just the places where people who had a little bit more money would have actually been able to live. So they've really done an amazing job trying to put things back to as close as period as possible. Of course, it's not completely doable, especially when you're trying to put in all of these different exhibits and have things lighted. So of course they wouldn't have had electricity, but there you go. The buildings that we're walking by right now are the artillery storehouse, forge, and the King's Bakery. This area was actually where the gunners stored and tended their cannons, carriages, and as well as a blacksmith that, although he didn't actually make all of the artillery, he spent a lot of time fixing it. Then this also housed one of 4 bakeries in the town. This one, however, was only to supply the royal garrison, and 4 bakers actually lived upstairs The bakery, however, was destroyed by a fire, and the original floors survived, but they have been preserved as much as possible in the reconstruction. So you can see that a lot of the places here were actually used, and they tried to preserve as much as possible while doing the reconstructions instead of just building straight from new. They also tried to employ as many of the old building techniques as they possibly could. Now, the place that we're walking up to, I'm actually very, very excited about, and this entire area, in case you didn't know, Louisbourg was actually named after King Louis, who reigned in France at the time, as a nod to him. This entire area was the king's barracks, the garrison, and where they would put on general shows, I guess you would say, or do military practice routines and that kind of thing. This area, as we were walking up, became a heck of a lot heavier for me. As you can see, I started slowing down, really taking it all in, and there's a lot of emotions that continue to flow through me just watching this footage back and actually being able to really relive it all over again. During the summer months, you can actually go and fire these cannons. They have a full reenactment. You can also stand down in that courtyard and fire a real musket. And I think that would have been so cool to actually put into this video, but unfortunately, with it being the end of the season, there was just no way that that was going to happen, especially with only an hour left, and there were pretty much no workers on site except for the woman who checked us in and the construction workers. Hopefully you can hear this well enough, and I'll try and enhance as much of it as I can in editing, but this area actually right over there is where the tunnels are, so it goes all the way underneath everything that we're standing on, and that tunnel on this side actually is exactly the tunnels that I saw a full body apparition in. And keep in mind, at this point,
We can walk down there.
yeah. But keep in mind, when we were here, nothing was actually happening in this area yet. So there was nobody else around. There was nobody in these buildings. It was actually a pretty quiet day considering. So they had the very far door open, and then one of the doors closer to us. Everything else in between was closed. So all the light that was going in was just through the little windows. And both my friend and I fully watched somebody walk all the way down from one door to the other, and nobody came out the other side.
It's so pretty.
This area was also the soldiers' barracks. They lived here, cooked here, gambled, smoked, drank, basically everything that they could do, they did here, simply for the fact that there was no mess hall. So they didn't have a big eating area. There was no, party area for them to go to. It was done in your rooms. That was that. So this all had to be pretty multifunctional. And that is partially why it is so gigantic. This place housed up to about 500 soldiers at once. So you can imagine that's a lot of people in one semi-small area. Something I didn't mention about this area as well is that long building actually housed the military chapel as well as the governor's apartments. So not only did you have over 500 men living in this building, then you had to keep on top of the governor and all of the superior council and the chambers that they met in downstairs, and how lavish that building was on one half, but then also how many people lived in cramped rooms just down the hallway, basically. Missionaries were also sent to the colonies to minister to the military as chaplains and to the civilian population as parish priests. The military chapel served as a parish church since the community church was never actually built. The patron above the altar is actually the King of France, Louis IX. So, as you can imagine, this place served as multiple different things for over about 4,000 people.
Keep trying not to sniff, but it's not happening. What time is it? Okay. Okay, head on in. God, that might be terrifying.
Okay. So, how does it look? Do you need to turn the light on?
No, I mean, if I'm facing this way, it should be fine.
So, because we don't have much time, it is 3:35. They told us that they're going to start clearing and doing their rounds at 10 to 4. We decided to come in here to the tunnels, part of the tunnels, just because we really wanted to try and get something, and this is the best, most secluded spot that they still have open, and there's not a lot of wind pollution, noise pollution. I can't really hear the construction that's going on all around us. So, I brought a couple of things to try. I brought my old iPhone, and as you can see, there is absolutely no SIM card, if it'll focus.
There we go.
So there's no SIM card, no internet connection, nothing whatsoever. And I'm going to use a couple of different things, but the first one that I really wanted to try out and see is a new app by Corey and Aaron. Shout out to those guys because we listen to their podcasts way too much. Not enough. But they just released this app and I really wanted to try it on an actual investigation. You can get it only in the Apple Store as far as I know right now, but it's got 3 settings. So there's radar, thermal, and touch. Now the radar is supposed to tell you if there is anything here, it'll blip on the screen. We did test it at home in our house where we do know that we have something in our home. And after about half an hour of having it on, we did finally get a response. So hopefully if there is anything here, we will get some form of a response. I don't really want to use the radar one too much. We were using the touch one at home. So the theory is that if something comes up and touches the screen, it will make a fingerprint and it will also buzz. So that will allow us to find out whether or not there's something there. One of the other things that I brought, I'm just gonna lay this over here so that you can see that neither of us, there's only 2 of us here, are actually touching it if it does decide to go off. But the other thing that I did bring is a pendulum because, well, they're just tried and true and easy to use. So for those of you who don't know what a pendulum is or have never used one, basically the theory is that you hold it really, really still over either a piece of paper or just in general, and you wait until it stops moving. And then to calibrate it, you ask it a couple of questions that you know are true or false. And so depending on the answer, it swings one way, and that's how you know which direction is yes and which direction is no in terms of being potentially paranormal. So the thought is that the energy will move the pendulum depending on the answer to the question. So,
Put it over here.
okay. So we'll leave that here. If you can see that, can you see it?
Yeah. I mean, maybe angle it a bit more or put it up a little higher or something. Yeah. I can see it well enough. It's not great, but it's there.
All right, so am I female? That's a better answer. So front to back is yes. Apparently fighting with Flint if it's being confused. Am I 19? Hey, and side to side is no. So we've established which direction is yes, which direction is no. If it swings diagonally either way, it's a maybe. So if there is anybody here, stop yourself. If there's anybody here, I invite you to come talk to me, talk to us. My name is Amber. I was here many years ago, and I saw somebody walk through these tunnels and a couple of people walk through the area. And I'd really like to just know that you are still here and with us. You can either come move this pendulum when I ask questions, or feel free to touch the red button on the screen. Neither of these things will hurt you, so yeah. Is there anybody here with us? Did it just light up?
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
Right, as you asked it, yeah.
Is there anybody here with us? Did it just light up?
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
Right, as you asked it, yeah.
Are you male? Are you female? I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera, but the pendulum just started swinging in a circle. Is there more than one of you here? Yes. How many of you are there? Are there less than 5?
Looks like it might be a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are there 4 of you? It went from swinging side to side to like diagonally to front to back.
You also look like you might be shaking a little bit.
I'm trying really hard not to.
Uh-huh.
Can you come and touch the screen again? Are you afraid of technology? Do you know that you're dead? Like, I know I'm making it vibrate, but me making it vibrate is like doing this, not making it like swing.
Yeah.
Can you stop the pendulum? Do you remember who I am? It is legitimately swinging diagonally. Do you remember who I am? It is legitimately swinging diagonally. Can we stop the pendulum? Do you remember who I am? It is legitimately swinging diagonally. And my chest just got so heavy. And my chest just got so heavy. Oh my god. If I turn on a different application, will you talk to me? It just started swinging front to back.
Try something else.
Okay. What time is it? Oh my god, I can't move.
1:45.
Okay. So for the last 5 minutes, we're just gonna try and use our good old tried and true ghost radio and see if anybody comes through.
Can't see it.
Oh my god, really?
Stand it up.
If anybody's here, I invite you to come talk to us. We don't have a lot of time, but I would really like to hear you or have some actual proof that you are here and talking to us.
I'm gonna walk out and go do some more with this one. So you want shadow?
The other one's better. Oh my god, I don't know if I can stand up.
Stand up. Stand up.
Oh my god.
Okay, don't forget the stuff on the floor.
Oh my god, I'm old and crippled. Oh.
Whoa. Yeah.
I would love for you to talk to us. We don't have a lot of time left. Can you come say hi? Or come meet us down at the cemetery later?
I swear I just heard something. And I'm wondering if it's them clearing people out.
Sounded like a female.
Yeah.
Really, really quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if they're clearing people out.
Time is it?
Tend to. So it might be that.
Do you have anything that you can say really quickly before I turn this off? Okay, well, apparently it is 10:02, so they're gonna start coming around and telling us that we have to go, so we might as well just start making our way out anyway. Stop and grab a couple of pictures on the way out, and yeah, we'll reconvene back in the car, because that seems like the logical place. Coming back into Louisbourg for me was an overwhelming experience, and I can't imagine how different it would have been to actually come here during maybe a bit more of a peak season when we could get into more buildings. There was another building that I really wanted to get into, which was actually closed, so we weren't able to go in there, but that building I actually did see a woman walk down the stairs in period clothing, and just a bunch of other things. We really wanted to do the ruins walk, which takes you out to one of the old cemeteries, not just the cemetery that you can get to on the way into Louisbourg. And there were just so many things. And because of our delay at the beginning of the trip, we had hoped to do all of this on Thursday and have 5 hours to actually just hang out and be there and experience Louisbourg. But unfortunately, with the delay and having to be in Halifax for a specific time, we just couldn't make it happen. So we ended up being here for an hour, and it is definitely not long enough. I know after talking to Megan in the car on the way out of there, she was really overwhelmed, but also in awe of everything. When you go into somewhere this old and something that people have actually taken the time to rebuild, it's not just falling down, it's not just a foundation left. There's something to be said. It's almost like giving a home for the spirits that survived and thrived in this community, instead of just giving them space. I think what Parks Canada has done with the Fortress of Louisbourg, as well as many of their other old historic sites across Canada, is absolutely amazing, and it's really helping people understand what is going on with everything, really, and how our history has developed, where it came from. The reality is that Cape Breton was settled from France. They are heavily Acadian, heavily Scottish, And we just don't want to lose our heritage. And I think that's the charm of the East Coast as well, because they don't lose that. Everywhere else in Canada that I've been, especially on the West Coast, they tend to lose their heritage after a while. And not that they ignore it completely, but it doesn't become something that is still transcending time. Here on the East Coast, especially since we've moved, I've noticed that heritage is everything. You know where you came from, you know what your family history is, and that's something that, because I love genealogy so much, I treasure. So living here has been an amazing experience for me. I would really like to get back to Louisbourg. I think that it would be really fun to get back in and do more and be able to have more time, see if I can reconnect. I can't even begin to explain what happened in those tunnels the first time, let alone this time around, especially having more technology and the applications that we did. And the fact that we got a response that we didn't even know we got. I think the correlation between asking if they remembered who I was, having the response on the phone, and then getting the response of my chest feeling heavy, the pendulum swinging maybe, it's all just a lot. Of course, it was always fun to see all of the animals that were still around. Usually in the summer, it's bustling. There are horses and pigs and turkeys and chickens and ducks and sheep. Even just standing here talking about it, I really can't wait to get back and explore and really dive into more of the history and maybe get some answers. I know one of the other things that I experienced there was hearing the sound of gunfire, and nobody was there doing gunfire simulations. I know one thing is definitely certain. I will be back, and I hope that Louisbourg is ready.